If you're seeing this, it's very likely you're grappling with some type of bad habit. Maybe it's a consumption habit. You just do something on a fairly regular basis that makes you feel not great, and you wish that you didn't do it. Maybe you've tried stopping it before, but time after time you find yourself turning back to it, and you feel like you have no control. And like when you are on track by your own standards, it's just a matter of time before you turn back to the substance, the activity, the thought pattern that you're trying to get away from, and it can be really frustrating. It can make you feel really guilty about yourself. It can make you feel shameful. It can make you feel like you're not in control. But it's actually pretty simple. It's not easy. It's not easy. But if you can give me two things, patience and a willingness to face uncertainty, I can help you turn this around. I've done it myself. I've helped other people do it. It's not actually as hard as you think. It does take patience and the willingness to face discomfort, uncertainty. If you have those two things, we're going to be good. We're going to do it together, and you're going to be all right. Worth a shot? Worth a shot, maybe? I don't know. Let's try it. The first thing we need to understand is a very simple principle. Addition beats subtraction. So if you're trying to cut out a bad habit, maybe it is smoking cigarettes, maybe it is watching porn, maybe it is eating junk food, maybe it is drinking alcohol. I could go on. If I didn't name your thing, feel free to leave it in the comments. But if you're trying to cut it out of your life, the approach is always the same. You need to add things in that naturally replace it. Because if you try to, excuse me, just going to grab a sip of water here. Give me 1 sec. There we go. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm filming in a hallway. What was I saying? So basically, when you try to remove something from your life, immediately your brain recognizes what it's missing and will crave it. It will recognize its absence, and it's going to throw signals at you to try to turn to that thing again. If the only narrative that you're telling yourself is, I need to quit smoking cigarettes, there's just all of this shame and guilt coming from your own conscience, and the only thing you're paying attention to is, oh, I need to stop smoking, I need to stop smoking. It's only a matter of time before you turn back to the substance. Why? Not because you're weak-willed, not because you have no ability to control yourself, but because the narrative that you're living in is very, very limited and it's very boring. No one wants to operate from a place of absence or lack. You need to add things into your life to feel like you're doing something. You are positively engaged in something else. And when you can find that journey, quest, meaningful game that naturally takes the place, that can take the place of the bad habit, the consumption, then it will automatically disappear from your life. Maybe not automatically, but it will disappear with a lot less friction. You will go where your attention goes. Consider for a moment what it would be like to not operate from a place of shame or guilt or feeling like you're a bad, weak human being. What if you could operate from a place of genuine excitement? I'm really excited to be doing this thing. So instead of, I don't want to smoke cigarettes anymore, or I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes, or this is the last cigarette I ever smoke, or this is the last time I watch porn, or the last junk food that I eat. What if it instead became, I'm going to take up mountain biking, or I'm going to try going on a walk after work, or I'm going to go to an art class twice a week, or I'm going to try salsa dancing, which is very difficult. Or maybe I'm going to learn to cook a few new recipes. I'm going to add something into my life that is exciting, that will give me a spurt of dopamine or excitement or something, beneficial in some way. But that isn't based around this subtraction narrative. Notice how when you do this, so much less of your attention goes to trying to avoid the bad habit or the negative thought pattern, the limiting belief, whatever it is. And notice that you're probably just having fun at that point. You're probably just having fun doing something new that you've injected into your life. And that's great. All you have to do is change the vice. So instead of the vice being cigarettes, porn, constant social media, cheap entertainment, junk food, soda, it really doesn't matter what it is. All you have to do is replace those things with new vices. Maybe it's reading graphic novels. You might say to yourself, this is my new vice. This is what I'm going to turn to as like a bad habit after work. It's not a bad habit. It's not bad for you in most cases, but it will help your brain feel like you're not hyper restricting yourself. Because the stricter that you hold yourself to an impossible standard, the more likely it is you're going to fold under the pressure of your own psyche. Like it's a standard that you will immediately want to run away from. So if you need a vice, just be intentional about what vice you choose. Choose something that awakens your creative mind. Choose something that makes you think new ideas, or that leaves you feeling genuinely full and satisfied. And only you'll know that feeling. So experiment with different things until you have it. But if you're constantly consuming things that leave you feeling empty or less satisfied than when you consumed it, that's something that you're going to want to reconsider. Don't just subtract it from your life. Don't just remove it. Add something into your life, and it'll automatically take its place over enough time. The next thing to understand is that the ultimate skill for you to build right now is building skills. I say that because when you go to add something into your life, that will require you to build a new skill. Learning salsa dancing is a skill. Learning to paint is a skill. Learning to make movies, learning to write, these are all skills. Building a skill is a very simple equation in my mind. It's the combination of intention, attention, iteration, and patience. So these are 4 personal values that you'll cultivate by trying to build new skills. Okay. Intention. You're just identifying a new goal. So this is what we just covered. Instead of smoking cigarettes, instead of watching porn, instead of scrolling social media after work, I want to learn to play the clarinet. Phenomenal. That's a great intention. That's a goal. Let's say you've identified that goal. And probably if you look within yourself, you have the thing that you've been avoiding, that you're like, oh, I've always wanted to write short stories or play the clarinet. That's a good thing to start with because it's immediate and you can trust your gut. You can trust the part within you that knows it wants that. Anyway, so you have the intention. The next thing is attention. It's just shifting your attention to that thing. Do not overthink this. This is starting to watch clarinet videos on YouTube. This is going to a music store. You don't even need to buy a clarinet. Just go to the store and browse around. This is maybe it's making a social media post about playing the clarinet and trying to find people online who also resonate with that hobby or that skill or that task. Because there's a lot of people on the internet, and chances are there's an unfathomably large population of people who share that interest and who would love to talk to you about it. It's just by shifting your attention towards that skill, task, hobby, new vice that you want to engage in, you'll start seeing it more. And immediately that process of replacing the bad habit kicks into gear because you're looking at something else. You're thinking about something else. The next thing is iteration. So this is applying yourself to the skill, doing it repeatedly, and continuously improving or changing things about it. So after you shift your attention to the new skill, maybe you buy a clarinet, maybe you decide to try one single clarinet lesson. It's not a year commitment. It's not deciding that you're going to be the best clarinet player in the world. It's not changing your Instagram bio to say, I'm a clarinet player. I teach you how to play clarinet. It's not that. It's saying, oh, you know what? Maybe it would be worth trying one clarinet lesson instead of going home and scrolling, or watching a show that is just going to make me want to watch more TV and feel like a zombie. I don't know, right? If it's worth trying, if there's a part of you that is curious about it, that's worth paying attention to. It's worth doing one lesson. Apply this to whatever skill practice you want to devote your attention to. Then you go, and then iteration is just doing that again and changing something about it. So if you went to a clarinet lesson, you learned the fundamentals, and then you went home and practiced, and then went back and had improved a little bit, that's iteration. If you do that for a long enough period of time, one of 2 things will happen. Either one, you will get a lot better at the skill and you'll enjoy it, or you'll discover that it's really not for you and it's worth trying something else. You need to, again, find a new vice. You need to find a new hobby, a new task, a new thing to try. But the main thing to keep in mind is that you're starting as small as possible, right? You can shift your intention, you can devote your attention, and then you can apply iteration in very, very tiny doses. And we'll talk more about this in a second, but that's exactly what you want to do. And the last piece of building a skill is patience. If you devote your intention, attention, and spirit of iteration towards what you're doing for a long enough period of time, you will build a valuable skill. And you'll find that you enjoy it more and more as you get better at it. Go figure. It's fun to be good at things, and you enjoy the things that you're good at. So you just repeat this process until you found a skill that recharges you, that gives you energy, that gives you something fun to do, that gives you something to look forward to, that automatically takes the place of whatever bad habit you were trying to get away from, until one day you find yourself not even thinking about cigarettes, not thinking about watching porn, not thinking about junk food or turning your brain off or escaping the pain of reality, because you're excited to be in reality, you're excited to be alive. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's not like you're reaching this state of constant perpetual euphoria. That would be a pretty hellish existence when you think about it for more than 10 seconds. What it really is contentment, and it's being able to, it's the sense of being in touch with yourself. It's the sense of knowing what you're naturally excited about. Now, a lot of people, when they hear this kind of thing, have no idea where to start. They're like, oh, that sounds great, but I don't have something like filmmaking or pottery or dancing. It's like I don't have a thing that I want to learn right now. And if that sounds like you, I'd like to make a short recommendation that I think you'll find very helpful. What I would do is I would check out Brilliant. Brilliant is sponsoring this video, and I think it's a really smart place to start if you don't really know what skill to build. Brilliant is a way to get smarter every single day through interactive lessons on math, science, programming, coding, data science, all kinds of really cool skills that are incredibly relevant for the modern age, but it's incredibly accessible. Something that you can start right now. You can download Brilliant. You can start taking lessons wherever you are at your current level. That's not overwhelming. And you can start building up your brain's ability to solve problems and think creatively and notice trends in the world around you. You don't even have to leave your room to do this. What I would do if I were you is I would take one subject that kind of interests you and start there. You can take math. You can explore different science courses. Brilliant makes it easy to get started, and you can feel the momentum of learning. So I would start with that. And to try everything Brilliant has for free for the next 30 days, just go to brilliant.org/Josh Chuba or scan the QR code on the screen right now. You'll also get 20% off your annual subscription, and that would be a pretty good place to start. Now, the last thing to keep in mind as you're trying to leave a bad habit behind and replace it with something better is you need to build your jump-starting muscle. I say this because whenever people want to quit a bad habit or replace it with something else and go through this whole process, they have this idea that they're going to make a perfect 100% change in their life. They're just going to 180. They're never going to fall back into old ways. They're never going to struggle with this kind of thing again because they have this idealized version of themselves in their brain that they're going to aspire to be. You need to build the ability to restart. You need to build the jumpstart muscle so that when you fall back into that, if that happens, you can get right back on track as quickly as possible. That is within itself a skill set. The most effective way that I found to do this is to just be able to cue yourself into a sense of emotional catharsis. You want to feel something because when you turn to self-soothing, you very quickly become numb. You become numb from pleasure, typically. And you're not really in touch with feelings of sadness or feelings of real fatigue. Or kind of the emotional weight of what you're running away from when you turn to these things. Truthfully, you have to feel those things. You have to process them in order to move on from them, in order to move into something better. What I recommend you do is put together a playlist of music that makes you feel emotional, a little bit in your feels, a little bit edgy, maybe angry, things that evoke a strong emotion in you, and just trust what those sounds are. Okay, it should be kind of a powerful thing. I call it a dark mode playlist. It shouldn't necessarily be fun, but it should feel kind of cathartic. There should be a sense of release from it. Put that together for moments where you need to cue yourself back into meaningful living, and that'll help you process whatever negative emotion you're running away from. And just remember, you can start over as many times as you need to.